אס בגובה, לא יד לשלם איתה, זה פודקאסט.
אס בגובה, פרק 39. מה קורה אלקנה?
אהלן אייל ואהלן אייל, גם פלק איתנו.
אהלן.
אז זה מצחיק, בדרך כלל אנחנו מקליטים את הפתיח עם האורח ובלייב, אבל למעשה אנחנו מקליטים את הפתיח עכשיו אחרי שסיימנו את השיחה עם האורח. היה מדהים, אנחנו אירחנו את נורמן צ'אד, השדרן של ESPN, אושיית פוקר מהמפורסמות בעולם. מי שרואה פוקר לא מכיר לא יכול שלא לדעת מי זה ולזהות את הקול שלו, להכיר את הפרצוף שלו, ותכלס היה כיף.
היה אדיר.
הוא מצחיק ברמות.
כן, הוא הסתלבט על אלקנה כמה וכמה פעמים, שזה תענוג עבורנו.
ספוילר, האנגלית שלי לא טובה.
והוא הבטיח, לפלק יש הבטחה שתכניס אותו לכסף במיין איבנט בפעם הבאה.
יש לי הרבה כסף, זה היה שווה לי לבוא לפה.
לגמרי. אז אני רוצה, לפני שאנחנו נאזין לשיחה, להגיד שני דברים. תודה לאור המלך, מאולפני פודקאסטים בגובה, שבא בשעה שהאולפן בדרך כלל סגור, ובגלל שאנחנו דיברנו עם נורמן צ'אד, והוא גר בלוס אנג'לס, וזה 10 שעות...
נורמן פאקינג
צ'אד. 10 שעות הפרש, אז כדי להקליט אותו ב-11 בבוקר בשעון שלו, אנחנו צריכים להיות פה ב-9 בערב, אז תודה לאור. ותודה לספונסרים שלנו,
ותודה לאור שתפעל, אגב, את כל הדבר הזה, שזה לא היה פשוט.
כן, 3 מיקרופונים, מצלמות, שיחת סקייפ, נופלת באמצע, לא, כל הכבוד, אור. שפו.
ותודה לספונסרים שלנו, ראנר, מתגעגעים אליכם.
בהחלט שמתישהו יחזור על הלייב פוקר בארץ, ונוכל לשחק בפילד פצוע כמונו. סבבה, אז בואו נאזין מיד לשיחה שהקלטנו. So, Elkana, can you please introduce our guest this time?
Well, our guest today has been a part of poker for the last 2 decades. His head-on mode page shows $86,000 in lifetime earning, but we're not here to talk about his poker playing career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to As B'Gova, one of the most popular and respected commentators in the poker world, half of the leading duo in the poker media, and a hilarious human being, Mr. Norman Chad.
Hello, Norman.
Well, you misled me. I thought we were here to talk about my poker career. I played really well.
Starts off with a bang.
Yeah. So how are you these days?
Well, like everybody else, I've been mostly inside my home because of COVID. And actually, I had the COVID virus last August, and I still have after effects that will not go away. But otherwise, everything is fine.
Okay, so as long as you're... I wish you well. And as long as you're healthy, everybody wins.
Physically healthy, yes. According to my family, mentally healthy, no.
Okay.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
It's not new.
Shocking.
So we invited you to the podcast, and happily you said yes. And we're going to talk about poker, obviously. And I want to start with 2020 that just ended. It was an exceptional year in everything, including poker. And I want to ask you, do you think this was a good or bad poker year?
It was, in most ways, it was a terrible poker year. Because we lost live poker in most places, and live poker is the heartbeat of poker. Even though at some point more people are playing, obviously they're playing more online in general and will always have online. But here in the US, where online poker has been largely not allowed over the past decade, to lose live poker was a very big deal. However, it did allow us to pop up a lot of sort of underground online poker games. Which was nice for people who were in their homes. And it also was very good for some of the online poker games were dealing in poker other than No Limit Hold'em. I'm a big proponent of playing the other games. So it was nice to see that the other games came around, and that was one of the few benefits of COVID poker-wise.
Before we proceed with the interview, Elkana's English has become a major issue on among the listeners.
I want to take a second to address it because we had
Sure.
about a year and a half ago. We had early in the podcast. We had Melanie Weisner in the studio. It was a great episode, but I couldn't really manage my English around her. Like I stuttered for about an hour and a half.
She's a girl.
Yeah, but I wanna. That's the thing. She is a hot redhead, like who's playing poker. Norman, like I like you, but you're not a hot redhead who plays poker. So I think we're gonna be fine.
Okay. Let me just. Okay. First of all, just two things. One, thanks for the compliment or insult that I'm not a hot redhead. Two, I cannot. I give you sympathy because this is what I know about Americans. All of us expect everyone to speak English around the world, which is ridiculous. And the second thing is that most Americans do not speak a second language at all. So most around the world, people do speak more than one language. So it's my compliments go out to the rest of the world because we're the ones who are behind. We're the ones who are like dinosaurs. We're the donkeys. We only speak one tongue, and we think it's stupid that people don't speak our tongue. We are wrong as usual.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. And as usual, when Norman speaks about a daily usual issue, it sounds like a commentary on ESPN. So we spoke about 2020. By the way, guys, feel free to interrupt me when you want to ask something
I'm
different.
not feeling free to do anything on this conversation.
So how can the events of 2020 impact the future of the game, by your opinion?
Well, one thing that I know is going to happen is we did not have the live World Series of Poker this past summer in Las Vegas, and they replaced it with a huge online series. I think it was 80 plus events. In the future, even when we have a normal World Series of Poker in the summer, if that we hopefully will have year after year, the online presence is going to be very, very big. Up until last year, they had just a handful of online events during the World Series. I would expect online World Series bracelet events to be in the dozens every year now, and maybe not during the summer in the World Series. Maybe there'll be a separate online series before or after. And that makes it certainly more accessible to everyone around the world. One of the problems is obviously the World Series is in Las Vegas, and it's tough to get there from around the world. There is World Series Europe once in a while. There's World Series Southeast Asia. But online poker, and I prefer live poker, but online poker allows anyone to play from anywhere in the world where it's allowed, and it's allowed in most of the world outside of the United States right now.
Yeah. You want to ask something?
No.
Okay, I
I'm
can.
good. Like-
I have a set of questions ready, and I wrote it in English, so I won't like lip sync and stuff.
Like even if I had questions, I don't want to interrupt him. Like he's talking and I want to listen, and this is like
Yeah.
this is basically what he do. What he does.
I totally agree, and with all due respect to us, we are not Lon McCarran.
No, we are not.
No. Yeah, I don't let Lon interrupt me. What you can do is what my wife and kids do, which is you just walk out of the room because they don't want to interrupt me either, but they just leave the room. That's your other.
In the middle of a speech.
Yeah. We're in the middle. I not even a speech. It's like I get 3 words out and they get up from the table to leave. So they just get kind of tired of hearing my voice. So only the dog stays.
It's a good strategy for poker. Like when you're playing, you just start to speak. Everyone leave. You get the blinds and ante, and you win the tournament. And try it.
That's a strategy. That's a good strategy for me because I don't have any skills. So if I can get everybody.
That's according to our research. That's not entirely correct. That you don't have skills in poker. By the way, if we already started talking about this.
Yeah, Eyal was surprised to find out that you made a WSOP final table a couple of years ago.
They were more surprised to find out that I made a
They were planning on you commentating it.
I have skills. Honestly, I have no skills in No Limit Hold'em. I never play No Limit Hold'em, and I don't like No Limit Hold'em, which is ironic since that's all we talk about is No Limit Hold'em. But I do play the other games okay, just above average. And so, yeah, I can play all the other games and hold my own. In Hold'em, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We don't have like mixed games in Israel almost
No,
at all.
maybe Omaha, but nobody else plays anything which
I
is
know.
different than Omaha.
Nobody even knows how to play Omaha.
I
We
can
just
play-
like playing it.
I can play like 5-star and 7-star, but no one else wants to play with
You're
me.
the only one in Israel that
Yeah.
that knows the rules of those games.
I really do think for the health of poker in general, to keep the game strong and keep the game growing, it makes sense to have people get interested in the other games outside of No Limit Hold'em, and it gives you other options. So when you walk into a card room or casino, if you don't feel like playing No Limit Hold'em or all of those tables are taken, you can play Omaha, you can play Stud, you can play the other games that are out there, and they're fun. And one of the things I love about poker is the variety. So I like to play in games in which you do have a lot of mixed games. So it just changes every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes. That's more fun to me. And I think if more people were exposed to that, they would agree with me sooner or later.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
That's a nice take on mixed games.
Yeah. I want to ask you about live poker. Do you think that playing live poker with masks and glass chambers is sustainable, or won't it kill the game?
Well, we always make adjustments. So, people I know, when people grow up in hot weather areas, they go to Buffalo, they go to Montreal, they go to Moscow, and they go, how do people live here? Well, they put on a jacket. Put on a jacket,
Simple it is.
Glove. It's that simple. They adjust to their environment. Now, to me, right now, I'm not going to go out and play live poker where I'm wearing a mask and there's barriers between us and you're not speaking to anybody else. I don't see the point. I might as well stay home and play online poker, which I don't like. But if that was the tomorrow, if that was the normal of tomorrow, people would adjust to it. It would not kill off live poker. It might reduce it to some degree, but people would adjust to it because people want to play. So like when Las Vegas reopens completely for live poker and for everything, whatever time this year or next year, people are going to want to get out and go. They want to be entertained. They want to go eat. They want to go play. So I think that the current mask shield situation is not ideal. And it's certainly not what I want to do. And I might not even do it myself. But eventually I might adjust. And I know that other people will make the adjustment because they want to play.
So I want to talk about WSOP because you already mentioned it, and it's obviously the biggest. It's like the biggest thing you did in poker, I guess. So I want to start with a fun question. If you have to choose, what are the top 3 memorable moments of the WSOP main event history?
The top three memorable moments of WSOP
main event history.
Wow.
Let's say the televised one.
Main event. Oh, televised ones?
Yeah.
Well, that's hard. Just before televised. Let me just say that the two of the top moments would have been when Stu Unger won his 3rd title, and he's the only person to win 3 World Series main event titles. Johnny Moss is credited for 3, but the very first one was not a real tournament. It was just a bunch of guys sitting around playing poker. And then they voted on who was the best player at the end. I could have won, if I passed around. So no offense to Johnny Moss, but Stu Unger, who had a very tortured, tormented life and was a online poker, was a No Limit Hold'em genius. His winning his 3rd title was incredibly impressive. And then the back-to-back titles by Johnny Chan, the 2nd title would be another top moment in 1987 and 88. Even though, again, he's playing against less than 200 players each, and now we're playing against 5 or 10,000 players. So before the poker boom, those are the 2 biggest main event moments to me. And then before the poker boom, again, you had an amateur that nobody remembers who was the first amateur ever to win, a guy named Hal Fowler, who went away. And then Robert Varconi, the year before Moneymaker, was another big story when he was an amateur from Brooklyn, New York, who won the main event. And he actually set off a mini boom the next year when Moneymaker came in. And then we get into the Moneymaker years. And of course, in that time, my favorite memory is the first year where I had no idea what I was doing. Now I have some idea, but everything I should know. But I knew very little. I knew nothing about tournament poker. But going to Binion's that year and watching what happened, and then watching Moneymaker at the final table do what he did, and I didn't think there was going to be a boom, but that's always a memory for me because of what happened in retrospect. Because the boom that happened, doing those shows then always hold, quite a special place in my heart, because that helped set off the poker boom. And Chris Moneymaker has been part of the poker boom for the past 17 or 18 years, and he's been tremendous. So that's probably my top moment, and it's the first year I did it with Lon McCarron, and we had that great heads up with Sam Farha. And I remember that I didn't know there was going to be a poker boom, and I was stupid at that time and thought it would be bad for poker if some amateur won the world championship against all these pros. So I was actually rooting for Sam Farha when we were watching. That's how dumb I was. I still am dumb, but that's a dumb thing I was thinking at that time. That Sam Farha better win this thing, or it's embarrassing for us. Who's this? He's a accountant. He's a 27-year-old accountant from Tennessee. He can't win this thing. And I was wrong there.
I think that, I wasn't watching poker back then, but I guess you weren't the only guy who was thinking that it will be bad for the game. But that changed the game for good.
Turned out to be the best thing that happened.
Yeah.
Yep, probably. Yeah, maybe it wasn't Moneymaker that made the change. Like, maybe it was you and Lon. Like, you also came in 2003, and since you joined, poker boom. What do you know?
Okay, that's very kind of you, but as I always tell people, me and Lon were just in what we call the getaway car when there was a crime going on. We were just passengers. We weren't driving it. We were lucky enough to be there in 2003. And actually, people do ask, is there still a poker boom if Sam Farha wins instead of Moneymaker? And yes, there is, because there were other things in place. The World Poker Tour was starting. Online poker was starting, the whole card cam, so people could see the whole cards for the first time. All those things were together. Moneymaker made it a bigger boom, but we still would have had a boost in
Moneymaker made it a bigger story. Like, it still was a poker boom, but the thing that an amateur wins the whole main event, and it came with the whole card cameras and the online poker, it made it like bigger by like tens of thousands of like. Yeah. Continue.
No. All of them put together made it for a bigger. It's like two. In this case, 2 + 2 + 2 equaled 15, because since they all came together, it created this bigger.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
See, he understands you without you speaking.
Okay, I want to ask, 5 years ago, WSOP final table was changed from the November 9 concept to an immediate final table a few days after the event wraps up. Which of the two you think is better for TV and for poker? I guess I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, I don't even, again, here's another thing that I don't even know the answer, because when they started the November 9, I understood why they were doing it. I wasn't that fond of it. I did not like a 100-day break between play. And no other game, no other sport does this. They don't stop Wimbledon, before the final match and say we'll play it 3 weeks later. They don't stop it after the second set and say we'll resume in another week. So from just a simple competition standpoint, I didn't like it. It did change everything in terms of people then preparing, getting coaches and all that. I didn't like that either. I like just doing the flow of the thing and then going to it. The idea at the time, though, was to get some promotion, publicity leading into the November 9. There'd be all the tape telecasts leading to it, and then people would know the players, and you would do it. And it actually worked pretty well. They had pretty good viewership for the November 9. But in a perfect world, and now we do it live the last 2 or 3 years on ESPN. In the perfect world, you just want to play it out, maybe have a 1-day break as they do, or a 2-day break, and then play the final table. So there's advantages to both. I also didn't trust, from a couple of standpoints, the 100-day break. A lot of things can happen in 100 days. You could have somebody that's kidnapped and just disappears in 100 days. Anything can happen in 100 days. So I just like doing it naturally without the big break. But it did work for a while with the break, and I think it now will work without the break.
I'm a bit shocked. I was sure it's going to say exactly the opposite as a TV person.
Yeah. See, sometimes don't assume. I thought I might too.
Yeah. I mean.
But I changed disasters. I was on an Iranian podcast this morning, and I said the exact opposite.
I mean, I texted with Elkanah like this morning about how I remember everyone in the final table of until 2017, I think, and then when it became like there were no episodes for me to watch before the final table, I was like, I'm not sure I remember all the participants of the not November 9, the July 9.
Right. Well, you bring up a good point. So when we do it live, it is harder because we're not able to craft a story and do the taped episodes where you start learning about all these people and you see them a lot. So the live problem is exactly what you're talking about. It's just pretty much 9 strangers sitting down at the table. You know nothing about them, and then they're playing live poker. So from an entertainment standpoint, and from getting casual people to watch it for poker, I much preferred the taped broadcasts, with or without the November 9, but the tape broadcasts, which let people get to know somebody and they root for them or they root against them. And I think that's a better product for the viewer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I want to ask about the live broadcast in past few years. Like you had something you didn't have in the early in the decade, that you and Lon and Antonio and last year and you brought Jamie
Kerchester.
Yeah, she's great.
Jamie Chris.
How do again? I'm gonna try this question again. Well, how do you like the experience of broadcasting live, like few days straight, like a week, more than a week, even like straight? You just sit in a studio and broadcast live. Is it like it's different? It's harder. It's easier.
Yeah, it's different, it's harder, and it's easier. So it's all three. Yeah, it's a different animal. I am more prepared when we're doing the tape broadcasts. I can do more research. I can do more thought on what I want to talk about. Live TV is different, and live TV is it's grueling actually because we do it for like 12 straight days for several hours a day, and actually does wear you out. Mentally when you're doing that often, but it's also it's almost like there's more action. It's more what's the word? There's more adrenaline, because when you're taping a show, it's almost like going to the grocery store. You tape a show and then you go home. When you're on live TV, you kind of get amped up, and so it's a different thing to do. And plus, it's a different thing. Plus we bring in a poker player like Antonio Esfandiari or Jamie Kerstetter, who does more poker analysis. So it's a different dynamic in dealing with 2 people instead of 1. And the one person, when I'm dealing with one person, it's just Lon. Lon, I got like a puppet string. I just tell Lon, do this, Lon, do that. And so when we're live, I can't do that. The puppet, he's 2 people away from me. The puppet strings don't reach that far. So it's a different thing to deal with. And I love dealing with Antonio and Jamie because they're both very, very good. And they both have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
But so it's a whole different dynamic. So both have their advantages and both have their disadvantages.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to ask something, Falk?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about how you make a specific episode. Like, what's the process? Could you describe for us the process of creating a whole WSOP main event episode?
Yeah, the process actually is, the easiest part of the process is what Lon and I do. Because what the producers have to do beforehand to prepare each episode, each 1-hour episode, is pretty difficult. I mean, they're looking at, if you're going like you're at day 4 of the main event or something, there's a feature table, there's a second table, and then there's the whole room.
Right.
And when they're doing that taped, they got the feature table with the cameras there, and they have crews out there, 2 or 3 crews that are covering other hands, and then they've got to go back, and this is why it takes, it used to take, in the early days, it used to take them 2 or 3 months to go back to produce an episode. Now they do it much quicker, but they got to go back through different footage and talk to different producers who are watching different things and get everybody's notes. And then they've got to try to put together the telecast, and they got to edit it all down, and they got to do interviews, and it's a big production to get that hour together. And then they just hand it to me and Lon, and, they hand Lon, like some Jack Daniels or something, and start talking about it. And they say, Norman, don't forget your divorces, and don't forget that you're not a good poker player. Go. And then we get to look at the thing. We can look at it 10 times before we go on the air. We get to look on the thing a day or two before we go on the air. And then Lon and I broadcast that 48 minutes. But the process before that, where they have to film, produce, and edit all that, is actually quite difficult and quite hard. And it takes a lot of people to do it. And then me and Lon just voice the final product.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Interesting.
that
we
never
sounds think about how they do it in the behind the scenes.
Yeah, this sounds like a very complex, a complex system, but it works. It works after all.
Yeah, we got all the seasons of WSOP that we have to pay to Poker Go to watch. It's great.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be free. Now you have to pay Poker Go to watch it. That is correct.
But it's only $10 a month. I mean, you pay for with King Jack offsuit more money to see a flop with this
Not
this
me.
cost.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Or with ace, queen, or jacks.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, this is always when I tell somebody, if you don't want to pay for a Poker Go, just one time don't pay King Jack offsuit out of position, and there you have it.
Yeah, by the way, you just reminded me of something. My wife, my current wife, and my last wife, we'll be together. We have an argument sometimes because sometimes we're like out shopping, or let's say we're at a restaurant, and she decides she wants to get lobster and steak. I go, come on, that's really expensive. Just get the lobster. And she says, you sit there and you put in another $40 on some bet in which you're going to lose the hand, and you question whether I want to eat lobster or steak. I said, okay.
That's a good point.
Gamblers are different. Gamblers, it's just chips. You just put them in, you put them in, you put them in. You lose the house, you lose the house. But if we're out in the supermarket or we're eating, we go, I don't get that wine. Let's get the $25 wine, not the $35.
That's a good story.
Relatable.
If anybody else has something to ask about WSOP, I want to ask one last question. You probably heard this a lot, but you're doing this for almost 20 years. Aren't you fed up?
I don't think everyone's ever put it that way before.
Because
we're Israelis.
people,
We're straight and to the point.
Yeah, we are Israelis.
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, that is straight and to the point. Here's the thing. It was when things are new, they're more enjoyable in general. And from a creative standpoint, you see things fresh for the first time, and then you figure out how to do it, and you get better at it. And then there's a diminishing return creatively. Like it kind of goes up, it kind of steadies there, and then it starts to go down. I have been on the downward spiral on this for quite a while because I've seen it so many times. I try to do different things with it, but it's ready. It's actually at least 5 years ago, I should have been doing something else creatively. And for the viewer, even though I try to keep it as good as I can, my better work would have been 5 years ago and 10 years ago. You just see it so often. And then in the poker world, and I will use the word fed up now, you can get fed up, and I'm in the poker world only half the time. If I was in there 24/7, I would have moved to Mars by now because the poker world is weird. And the poker world is very insulated, and all they care about is poker, and it's just a different type of world. I grew up, actually, we had dogs when we grew up, and we went to dog shows. And I went to 100 or 150 dog shows when I was growing up. And they struck me as weird. People to dog shows, all they care about is the dog show. And nothing else outside matters. And if their dog poops in that ring, that dog is done for the day. I mean, if you poop in the ring, you have pooped on the whole dog show. So all they care about is the dog show. And the closest thing I've ever found to that are poker players. I have been in the bathroom at the World Series of Poker, in the bathroom that serves the Amazon room. It's about 12 urinals. I'm in front of the urinal. The guy next to me recognizes me and goes, "You can't believe what just happened to me. I had Are you nuts? I mean, are you kidding me? Because I hear bad beat stories all the time. But can we not just pee right now, wash our hands, and go outside and talk? That has happened to me 10 or 15 times. It happens to me at least once a year, every year at the World Series, where somebody sees me at a urinal and starts telling me what happened in a hand. So if you're in the poker world 24/7, you will get fed up.
This is
That's
like
totally
the headline of the episode.
Yeah.
the P scenario.
The urinal story, yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
Norman Chad talked about he's talk about himself peeing. That's a good story.
But you know why he could get into because they say that I've never been playing the WSOP, but they say that on the break they have this huge line,
There's a
he's not
huge
the
line.
one. He's the only one not playing, so he can I don't care that the break is over. I can go on there and pee.
There are huge lines. You go before the break. You go out to.
Yeah, you learn to go like
Right.
2 minutes before the break, and then you have a line. And actually, when I play, I do the same thing because when you get older, you've got to urinate a little more often, and you don't want to stand in a line. By the way, standing in a line then with these people,
No way.
Even worse.
you're a stationary target. Just everyone's
They just come at you.
like
There is a famous story. I have to when I have a poker story, I kind of break the conversation in the middle. Just stop. I'm gonna tell a poker story about your friend Antonio Sfandiari. He got banished from a tournament. He got penalized because he peed in a bottle.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know
Really?
that, Norman?
he had made a
Yeah.
prop bet.
He couldn't walk.
He essentially couldn't walk. I forget the term that they used, but for like 24 straight hours or 48 hours, he was not able to walk. He had to do something else. So he was in a tournament, and he brought either a coffee cup or a water bottle, and so he decided to urinate in the bottle underneath. He did get. I mean, this was bad judgment on his part. I told him. I remember I texted him afterwards. What were you thinking? So they had a ruling on it, and he was thrown out of the tournament. I forgot what the exact rule is on that, but whatever the general rule is, I think it does involve not urinating or crapping in the general.
It's like the dog show.
But he had a big bet. He had it was just $5,000. He would have done the same thing. He had a bigger bet going for I forgot how much money, and
I
so
wanted to say-
he ended up winning the bet, but he got thrown out
I
of the
wanted to
tournament.
say that I hope that the money was worth it.
The bet was with Bill Perkins. So
Okay,
the
if
money
it was
worth
with Bill
yeah.
So it was
Perkins,
probably worth it.
Yeah.
Good point, Elkanal. Yeah, it was with Bill Perkins. So it was
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask about live poker because I think that you're one of the biggest voices claiming that live poker is probably less fun than it used to be. What changes do you think the game must take in order to be more enjoyable and watchable?
Okay, those are linked to each other, but let's just start with the enjoyable thing first. And this is where I just think poker players, have blinders on. It's a business. People are going out to enjoy themselves. It's different than other sports where you're just playing somebody in tennis, or you're playing somebody in chess, or something, or you're golfing. They're there to golf, tennis, play chess. Poker has a social environment. So if you are if you are playing poker for a living, you make your living off people coming into the card room and losing their money to you. It's that simple. You hate to think about it in those simple terms, but you can't win unless people are walking in to lose. So when they come in to lose, why would you treat them like crap? Why would you ignore them? Why would you insult them? Why would you not talk to them? Why would you blow smoke in their face? It makes no sense. If I walked into a bakery to buy a bagel or a muffin, and there were 12 guys in there with Harley Davidson jackets and chains and smoking cigarettes and looking at me like I was, I'm not going to get a bagel in there. I'm going to walk out. I mean, I just want to get a bagel. I want to smell the bagel. I want to smell the muffin. So when you walk into a poker room and you're a recreational player like myself, you want to have a good time. You don't want to be intimidated. You don't want to be treated poorly. So that's to make it more enjoyable. You have to be more welcoming to the other players. You have to look to your left. You got to look to your right and go, hey, that's a person. That's a person. I should talk to them. Rather than coming in with your hoodie, your sunglasses, your headset, and you're playing your GTO. Who wants to come back to that? And then on your second half of your question, who wants to watch 8 guys sitting around with headsets, shades, and hoodie playing perfect poker and not talking to each other? It's
Elkanah
boring.
wants.
I don't care how good the poker is. I don't care if they make some world-class level, Justin Bonomo play where they love the other person because he thought this, I thought this, he thought this, I thought this, and he remembers his hand from 44 years ago at Guantanamo Bay, and that's why he shot Jack Deuce. I'm trying to watch people play poker and enjoy themselves and talk and have conflict. So again, from a business standpoint and an entertainment standpoint, they're wrong just to come in and say, I don't care about that. I'm just going to play poker and I'm going to try to win $100,000 today. If they want the game to grow, they have to think about this other stuff.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree about the first half. Yeah, I agree. If you want the fish to come and play, you need to treat them like you don't have to be disrespectful. But there can be an argument for a super high roller for $100,000 tournament that is televised, but the pros coming, they put in their own money. They're playing for millions of dollars. They're gonna play how they like. I mean, you can't force them.
I understand.
You can't force them to talk to each other and to be nice.
Correct.
And for the entertainment, it's not entertaining. It's money. It's a lot of money.
I agree with you. So that's a good point, and a surprising good point coming from you. Because first you had to think of it, and then you had to say it in English. So I think you did a really good job. And you're absolutely correct. When they're playing, again, $100,000 high roller, $250,000 high roller, they're just going to come in and they're doing their job. They're coming in to play poker. I think the smart ones are aware of the other thing I'm talking about.
Right.
But let me tell you one other thing. To me, like the hidden part of some of those high rollers. A lot of them have pieces of each other.
Yes.
Okay, a lot of them are they all have, I got 10% of you, I got 10% of you. They're all playing with their own money. I swear, at the end of the day, it's good for them to get the exposure because that helps their branding, that helps maybe sponsorships down the road, and they just kind of all pass the money back and forth with each other, and they got pieces of each other a lot of the time, which I'm not terribly happy with when that's the case, because that's a different competition then. So I don't defend them as much then, because of what I just said. And again, to grow the game, you got to be. It's nice if you're a little more aware of then how big your chip stack is and how good a poker you play.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, the part of my English, you should take that as a compliment, because I said that because you're not Melanie Weisner, I would not stutter, but I am stuttering, so.
Hey.
What are you doing after the show?
I can give Elkanah your number. I have it.
Yeah. Talk to me if you ever come to Israel.
Funny. That was worth it. All those 2 minutes where he mocked you, that was worth it.
Yeah. You can mock me whenever you want.
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about online poker TV broadcasts, because since Corona has entered our life, sadly, there's been a growth in streaming and broadcasting of online poker games. So, do you think that this can be fun and entertaining for the mass market poker fans, or it can pass?
I can't see it being entertaining for mass market casual people. Now, there's two different things we're talking about here. So we've had some really talented Twitch live streamers the last couple of years, who, even though they're playing online poker, and online is kind of boring to watch, they're a personality. They're talking you through the hands. They're talking about other stuff. So you got a really talented group of people who have ended up doing this and have gotten really good at it. And I give Jason Somerville credit for being like the original guy who saw this 10 years ago, whatever. He's the original streamer. Yeah. And now you have Lex Lex doing it.
Yeah.
Lex and Jamie Staples and all these other people who do it, are pretty entertaining to watch. So there's some growth there, but I still think you're talking about a fairly small audience. And then when you're talking about broadcasting an online thing, like right now they're broadcasting the live streaming the Daniel Negreanu.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that
with two. Yeah. Okay. So that, to me, I follow poker and I try to watch that. I can't watch that for more than 5 minutes. Like I couldn't watch if you put up, Wall Street stocks going up and down. I don't buy stocks. I'm not going to watch that on a screen. Even if the announcing is fairly entertaining, I can't watch that for too long. So if you look at their audiences, which are pretty big by online standards, but you're talking about, worldwide, a few thousand people watching it worldwide. If a few thousand people were watching something on ESPN, that thing would be on ESPN no more. So it's a relatively small audience, and it's a large audience by online standards. So and they do 3 live streams a day on those matches. 3 different separate people are live streaming it, which is shocking to me. But they all get an audience, and they all get a built-in audience, whoever's rooting for one guy or the other guy. But as far as widespread mainstream, I don't see it happening.
You think that there is some way that it can happen? Like if they change something that they could do to make it watchable, like more watchable?
Yeah. Yes, they could do some stuff. For instance, we could have, if they were chatting with even if they were just chatting with each other in a chat
Right.
box, that alone would make it more, more personable. You'd see them going back and forth with each other. If they were doing this online thing while they had Zoom on each of them,
To make it more
so they
like
were just-
live poker.
then you see the personalities. I'm playing online poker during the, which I was not going to do. I'm playing online poker during the COVID in a game in which we're all Zoomed. So it's almost like a home game. We have 8 or 10 people on the TV, on our laptop there. It's like a home game. Otherwise, I wouldn't sit there just clicking buttons. I might watch Daniel against Doug if I could see them, or I could see them talking, hear them talking, or see them chatting. So that alone right there, I think, is a mistake on their part. In terms of marketing it, they would have much bigger audience and make it have people engaged it for a longer period of time if you could see the two people playing.
Yeah.
I think it would just go beep, beep, beep if they were, if they had Zoom on each other.
That's true. That's part of this. This is the grudge. This is what is this called?
The feud.
Yeah,
the
the
feud.
high stakes feud.
Why don't you play up the feud by having to go back and forth with each other because they really don't like each other?
Yeah. It's,
I wanted to. Actually, you spoke about Negrano versus Polk. This was like my next.
it's an excellent question. I have a slide on it.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think? Okay, no. You know what? Forget about this question. I want to ask if.
How can I forget about this question? You haven't asked.
No,
me.
I wanted to ask if.
You haven't asked.
You're right. I wanted to ask if the Negrano versus Polk. Do you think it's good content or it's just bad ego competition?
It's a little of both. They have both massive egos. It's interesting for poker, particularly during COVID, to promote the game, to have this very high profile, high stakes duel between the two. One or the other could have ended up losing $1 million, $2 million during this thing. So it keeps poker in the news, at least for poker people. I don't think it's been high quality content. Like I said, it's two online tables, heads up being shown up. How I have trouble watching heads up poker for a long, long time anyway. So it's just hard for a casual person to watch those screens. So I don't think it's been high level content. So it's a little of both, as you mentioned. It's not really the best content, but it's two egos clashing, so that kind of makes it interesting.
Okay. That's. I don't think we need to elaborate more on Negrano versus Polk. Okay, if you don't know, Israelis, they are very provincials. They like when famous people from around the world talk about Israel. So first of all, before we started the conversation, you mentioned that you have a stepson here that plays basketball in Israel, right?
Yes, my stepson Isaiah Eisendorf, who played Division II college basketball in America and graduated from a small school in Syracuse, New York called Lemoyne, got a contract to play in Israel in his first year. He was with the Haifa Hapoel, second division. And then he got transferred to the Tel Aviv Hapoel and got a bigger salary boost when he went to them last year. And he's in the last year of his contract right now.
So give us some I believe they call joke about Tel Aviv Hapoel. Don't you have one like you can use right away? He didn't understand me.
No.
I thought you wanted jokes about how bad Haifa, how bad.
No, but
Tel Aviv Hapoel is as a franchise. As a
no,
team.
in the TV shows, in the WSOP TV shows, you always speak about like when you talk about a player and he came from this
Baltimore.
college and this university. You talk. I believe they call the crying ducks or something like that. You have always this
Raging
punchline.
To the Demon Peak.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't even. I believe they're called. So I don't even, by the way, it's so hard to follow him. My wife and I try to watch games. It's a different world. It's like we can't even watch the games online. We could watch his Division II college games for free with an online stream, every single one. We have been able to watch like one or two of Isaiah's games since he's go over there, and it's hard to find an article afterwards online to find statistics. And then we call him up. How's the game? We lost. Oh, that's good. Give us some more details. No, I didn't play much. Oh, that's good. So we can't even get information about it over there, and Israel's really high tech. They're higher tech than the United States. So I'm kind of confused. So I can't be doing the Raging Cajuns, the Demon Deacons, and all that because I can't even get access to even looking at these games.
That's for mainly two reasons. One, Israeli basketball, except for Maccabi Tel Aviv, is not that good. And second of all, nobody watches basketball here. It's like there is soccer, like there's huge mass crowd for soccer, and basketball, especially a team like Hapoel, and I'm insulting Orna, our producer, who is an Ultras Hapoel fan. He's like the biggest fan of Hapoel Tel Aviv.
In soccer or basketball?
I think both. Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, I said both.
Well, I don't know about soccer, but that's a lot of losing if it's basketball.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, before we go to our listeners' questions, do you have any particular Israeli poker player that you fond, that you follow, or because you had some in the WSOP main event, we have some big names in the poker industry.
Yeah, actually, so the guy I deal with the most, who has not been in Israel, he's been in America now for a long time, is Eli Elezra, who is I've gotten to play with him a lot for some reason. When I've played the very few World Series of Poker tournaments that I get to play every year, I have been at his table, several times, and he's delightful to play with. He's got a great personality. He plays at the highest stakes in Las Vegas for a number of years, which is hard to do. Obviously, he's been in Las Vegas as a businessman for a long time. He's friends with Doyle Brunson and Barry Greenstein and all the other high-stakes players here. So Ellie is the one I know best and who I deal with. And then I read his biography, which was translated into English by Robbie Stravinsky, who lives in actually he's American, who lives in Israel now and does a lot of poker media stuff over there. And then, of course, we had, you'll recall his name, we had the guy who took so long to act about 3 or 4 years ago on his hands, who made a deep run in the World Series main event. What was his name?
Berkovici? Harry Berkovici?
No.
Ofer Tzvi Stern. Yeah, he finished fifth in the WSOP 2015, I guess. The Joe McKeon boring final table.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a boring final table, and Joe had all the chips, and he didn't lose any hands, and there wasn't a lot of table talk. But yeah, so he that year he was your guy was infamous for just taking too long, just way too long to act on hands, and we've had other people like that. But that's a negative Israeli memory. But in general. And I have relatives who live in Israel, and then people like other people here, some Jewish friends of mine who always follow the Israeli players and call me up and say, "Can you go find out where this guy's from?" And yeah, they're very proud about if an Israeli player makes it deep into the main event.
Okay.
Yeah, we like our Israeli players.
Yeah, we do.
I was planning on making it deep in
on the main event,
but then COVID came, so.
Another thing you can just blame on COVID that you were actually going to finish sixth here.
I was going to win the main event, but no.
But COVID, yeah.
Cut this out.
Yeah. So we have some questions from our listeners. We posted a Facebook post and we asked them to ask questions, and we picked up the best. Of course, there were many about your memorial hand, which we know is ace queen suited, right?
Well, my hand is ace queen, and then the Lon McCarron memorial hand is pocket jacks. Is the one he can't play, and I don't play ace queen.
Yeah.
And the ace queen just happened because I read Doyle Brunson I think it was in Super System, and he wrote that 30 years ago. He said he never plays ace queen anymore, which is a lie. It's a lie, but his point was you don't play ace queen because there's 1,000 ways you can lose with it. So I told that anecdote probably 15 years ago, and I just adopted ace queen, so I'm not going to play. If Doyle's not playing ace queen, I'm not playing ace queen. And somewhere along the way, Lon adopted pocket jacks that he wasn't going to play or that are impossible to win with, and I ended up naming that the Lon McCarron Memorial hand, which he liked. It was more because memorial means you're dead. So I thought that'd give him a hint. So just go ahead and go off, and then that's what memorial is. But he just took it as a joke, Lon McCarron Memorial Hand, so we keep calling it that.
Yeah, no, we understood that it was supposed to be about death. So Elkanah will read the questions, and of course also tell the name of the listener that asked.
So Tom Shaham.
Shacham.
Yeah, you know him?
Yeah,
I don't know him.
We know him.
Jabote.
Yeah, his name is... yeah.
This is Jabote?
Yeah, he's a
Jabote.
streamer in
Tom
poker
Shacham.
streamer in Israel named
I haven't-
Jabote. Yeah.
Like, I'm the one who's supposed to know these things.
Welcome to
Okay.
Poker, Elkanah.
Tom Shacham asked, did you think you'd be a professional poker player someday? Like, early in your career, did you think you're going to play poker professionally? Or did you just knew you're going to broadcast and commentate on poker and do the behind-the-scenes stuff?
Yeah, actually, neither. I certainly would never dream of being a professional poker player. It's very, very difficult. And I tell people who are thinking about that you better have it as a second option or something else as an option. Even when you're playing poker, you should be doing something else because you can go through some really down periods playing poker where you're just crushed. You can't win anything, especially if you're playing. Nobody can be a professional tournament poker player. It's impossible. Just the way. I mean, they only pay 10 or 50% of the players cash in every tournament. So just doing the math simply, you can't win a tournament poker. It's impossible unless you're finishing first or second several times in a year. So, but grinding out a professional poker career as a cash player, which many people do, is very, very difficult. I have a lot of respect for them because you just got a lot of management there. You got to have cash management, game management, emotional management. It's just hard to do. So yeah, I could never play professional poker. I would be, as we say, living under the bridge within 2 months. I would have no money. And as far as the broadcasting end about it, I always just played poker a couple times a week. The broadcasting thing was an accident, so I never even thought about broadcasting poker. And in fact, before 20 years ago, it didn't really exist. So I wouldn't have thought about it anyway. And then when we started it, I just thought it was a part-time thing. I didn't think we were doing it more than a year or two. I didn't anticipate a poker boom. I didn't anticipate being as good as I was at broadcasting poker. I didn't know that I was going to keep doing it for 17 or 18 years. So that's been a surprise. And even then, I don't do it full time. It's just part of the year. And I've continued writing newspaper sports column, which is what I always did. I continued writing it for the past 20 years as well.
Okay, you want to ask the other question? Or Falk, do you want to ask one of the questions?
Okay.
You haven't wrote them down somewhere.
You can ask this one.
Which one?
Oded Hamama.
Classic.
Oded Hamama. Okay, so Oded asks, what excites you about commentating nowadays?
What excites me? The thing that still I enjoy the most, and I do most of the main event. We do some live streams of the earlier World Series of Poker bracelet events, which I love to do because that's when we do the mixed games. That's when we can broadcast Omaha or pot limit Omaha and stuff like that. But the thing I've always enjoyed about the main event, which is weird because I'm not a people person and I'm not social, is wandering through that main event, particularly on day 1 and day 2, when it's a sea of people from around the world and meeting these people and then attaching myself to them during that particular year's main event, like checking back in with them an hour or 2 later, checking back in with them a day later, and you become attached to them where you want to see them do really well, especially when you learn about them. And it's a bittersweet thing because like certain movies, everybody dies in the end. So I know that the emotion I'm putting into this person, nobody's going to make it to the end, and most of them don't even get to cash. So sooner or later, they're going to walk up to me and say, I just busted. Or sooner or later, I'm going to go over to their seat where I just checked on them an hour and a half ago and their seat is empty. Or somebody else is in their seat. I said, oh, they're gone. And I don't even see them again. So it's always tough at the end when these people one by one lose because they're all going to lose.
Except for one.
Except for one,
Except for one. But no, it's great if they all make it, if they make it to the final table, that's weird.
When
So I can barely get these people to cash. And actually, a few years ago, I started a thing where I started to give away. I eat Starburst candy, and I started to give away Starbursts, lucky Starbursts, to different players, and then getting their information and talking about them on the live telecast. And then I would check on them every day. So all these, as one by one, these live Starburst people, hit the rail. It's very, very sad. But a lot of them, when they cash, I'm really, really happy. So that's the fun part of the broadcast, actually, is getting to know these people and rooting for them.
Yeah.
When I come play the main event, I'll ask you for a lucky Starburst.
That's very smart of Yao because we actually the percentage of people who cash, who take a lucky Starburst is higher than the percentage of people. If I give it to 25 people on day 1, we average like 9 people cash. And that's, whatever. It's like 25% of the people cash, or or 30% that get starbursts, and only 15% of the field is cashing.
So
that is a
I'm
very
gonna
smart
double my
move.
chances.
I think maybe you have an
exactly.
arrangement with the dealers. They see the lucky starbest and they like deal the good cards. The conspiracy is on.
Live poker
Actually,
is rigged.
the dealers, that's a really tough job. Live poker is not rigged. Just the best players tend to win. The dealers, that's a really tough job, and I try to give them actually as much candy as I can while I'm walking around, because that's just a really tough job dealing poker and dealing with the World Series. It's long days, so I give them a lot of credit.
And it's not only dealing poker; you also have to deal with the poker players.
That's the worst part of it.
Yes, exactly.
It's like Jared Blaznik said in the 2016 that he likes poker, he doesn't like the other players.
Yeah.
That's really well put by Jared.
Yeah.
So he's like Socrates of our time.
Yeah. So I want to read this next question. It's by a dear friend, Uri Elberg. And he said, what's the story with you and Phil Ivey? Why is he dead to you?
Wow, that's a great question.
That's a long story. I'll try to make it as short as possible. So the very first year we did it, we're taping it after it all finishes. So I wanted to make a prediction starting at the beginning of our broadcasts of who I thought was going to win. So I actually put 2 names in an envelope and like mailed it to myself or something so people could see the postmark that, I said this person's going to win, and they end up doing well. But I put 2 names that first year, and I didn't know that much about poker, but I did research. I put TJ Cloutier, who was an older player, won many bracelets, has been runner-up at the World Series main event twice. And I put Phil Ivey, who was a young gun who I liked because he played all the games. He preferred playing cash to tournament. He preferred playing. He's a stud player, and he had won like 3 bracelets a year before, and he was very young at that time. This is 18 years ago. So he was still not even 30 years old yet at that time. So I put their names in, and then Ivey ended up finishing 10th. He was the guy who Moneymaker knocked out with a big hand just before the final table.
Ace Queen 9.
Ace Queen 9,
the Norman Shot Memorial hand, yes.
Yes. By the way, I can't tell you how upset I was when that happened, because, oh my God, Phil Ivey's out, and this bum accountant who keeps knocking out all the big players. Because he had knocked out Johnny Chan, he had knocked out Umberto Brenes, or had a big hand against Roberto. He kept knocking out these guys. But so Phil Ivey then became my guy. I just picked him as a running joke, sort of. I picked him to win the World Series every single year. And of course, he hasn't won it. He made a final table the year that I think
2009,
Darwin Moon won.
when Joe Cata won.
When Joe Cata won? Oh, yeah, Darwin Moon finished second.
Yeah.
So, he's always my choice. And I love Phil Ivey. I talk to him when I can. He doesn't talk to you a whole lot when he's playing, even though he's a really smart guy. He's got a great sense of humor. And then a few years ago, because he does care more about, winning money than winning bracelets, he stopped coming to the World Series for a year or 2. Okay?
Wow.
Okay. He once told me on camera when he won a bracelet event that we televised, and in the interview afterward, he told me that he thought he could win 25 or 30 bracelets, which is an exaggeration, but he's capable of winning 15 or 20. It's hard to win bracelets. He's got 10 right now. He stopped coming to the World Series. You know what happens when Phil Ivey stops coming to the World Series, gentlemen? He is dead to me. Dead to me.
That's our money shot.
So that's why he became dead to me, and I still say he's dead to me even though I root for him.
Even though he came back. Came back from the dead.
Back. Now he's taking poker more serious. But, I don't blame him. He's following the bottom line. So he travels the world. He plays in the big stakes games in Macau or wherever he can find them. And sometimes he loses his shirt. And tournaments bore him. I mean, his tournament style is smart. He's from the kill or be killed style. He tries to accumulate a lot of chips, especially in these mixed games, which are limit. It's hard to play like a no-limit style in mixed games, but he does, where he just is very aggressive, and he tries to accumulate a big chip stack.
Yeah.
So he puts himself in the best position to run deep, or he knocks himself out really quickly and just moves on. It really makes sense from a standpoint. You either get a whole lot of chips, or you're done after an hour and a half. You don't waste a lot of time. And he doesn't want to waste time. So I do understand his strategy and appreciate it, but if he's not coming to the World Series of Poker, he is dead to me.
He supports the go big or go home strategy.
Go big.
As I was expected, most of the question were about your catchphrases, your jokes about divorce and stuff like that. But 2 people wanted to know what's your position now on Deuce on the River.
After the Scott Blumstein's...
You know,
Two people.
yeah,
Okay.
first of all, okay, it's entertainment. What I was saying, I used to say a tray also. A deuce, you know, once in a while I'd say a deuce on the river changes nothing, a tray on the river, three on the river changes nothing. Even on the turn, I would say that.
Right.
And generally, again, I love saying it. And in No Limit Hold'em, and this holds more for, it holds for No Limit Hold'em. It doesn't hold for the other game like Omaha 8 and those. Deuce is a very important card in split pot games. But generally in No Limit Hold'em, because of what people are going to be holding, you know, a deuce or a three is not going to be as important as the other cards. So that's why I started to say that. I go, why were you bothering with, if they put a deuce on the river out, just stop dealing the cards. It ain't going to change anything. And, you know, generally it doesn't change anything. So the one time in like 77 years at the main event heads up, it gives us a main event heads up winner. Everybody, you know, stops me in the street. Hey, what do you think now? I said, the only thing you got right there is you idiot. I stick with the deuce doesn't change anything on the river because 99 times out of 100, it doesn't change anything on the river. By the way, my dog is now staring at me because I'm yelling. Because there's nobody in the house, and she thinks I'm either yelling at myself, so woo, 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 or I'm yelling at her, and she's not happy about that.
Do we have any more
was
questions? We have like one or two, right? The Ace Queen, you already talked about it.
Yeah. I don't think we have.
No. I think we gathered the best ones. So we're actually before wrapping up. So guys, any comment? Any last minutes to hang out with this cool dude who accepted our invitation?
No, I'm just waiting for my lucky starburst.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wanted to say, like, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna say the
ending. Yeah. After we finish the conversation, we're going to do it in Hebrew.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much. Like, this means.
Check it. I don't want to hear it.
This means a lot to us. Like, when we announced that our guest is gonna be Norman fucking Chad, everyone like.
They didn't believe us.
Yeah, people thought we were trolling them.
There was one comment on Facebook. Is this April 1st?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, the similarity there, because again, not am I antisocial. When I was particularly younger, I didn't even like going to family functions. So their surprise was the same. I literally lied a couple of years when I was having bad years. Personally, where I told my parents, I told my family I was out of town for like Thanksgiving, which is a big family dinner. Like nobody travels during Thanksgiving, but I said I had a business thing to go do, and then I just stayed by myself. So like your whoever you were talking to and thought you were trolling them or just lying, if I showed up for a family dinner, people were how do we get you to come to a family dinner? You're never coming to a family dinner. So it was a surprise to them. So I understand why you people also think it was a surprise I had show up here, and I do regret and I apologize to my family years later, telling them that I didn't come to Thanksgiving in 1981 or 1982 because I was in a bad place, and I lied to you about having to go to an American Heart Association fundraiser in Amarillo, Texas. So I've gotten better about that, and actually the World Series has made me better about that because, like I told you, I wasn't a people person, but now I go out into that room and I talk to everybody, which was very hard for me at first. But so yeah, it is a surprise that I show up to deal with these three shoe clerks and crumb bums sitting here speaking broken English.
Only Elkanah's English is broken.
Don't put them on, don't, like, they speak good English. English minus. I don't.
Me no English.
Yeah, me no English. So I wanna.
Dog house.
Yeah, so I want to repeat what Elkanah said in a better English and said thank you very much for joining this our podcast. It was a pleasure having you, and it was probably will be the most viewed, listened episode we're ever gonna be. We used to have only like local poker celebrities, and
which are celebrities, like
they're celebrities.
Great comment, great guest, great.
Yeah, but they don't have 70,000 followers on Twitter.
Well, I'd like to tell you that it has been a pleasure to deal with you, but you're reminding me that there's an old thing about one person's comedy is another person's tragedy. One person's highlight can be another person's low light. So yes, this has been a highlight for you all, but if I knew my career were going to end up where I'm sitting here talking to you three in 2021, I just know that I did something wrong.
Thank you.
But I
Blame it on COVID, Norman.
Thank you for that.
If COVID didn't come, I would not have to do this, but I will accept my fate and just try to make, when they say when you're given lemons, make lemonade, I'll just try to make the best of it, and the rest of my day, I'll try to just smile.
That was awesome.
That's your closing statement? Like, that's how you're dealing with us?
I can totally accept that.
Yeah?
Best insult I ever got.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much, and stay safe and stay healthy. And I hope that we'll all be able to see you on Vegas someday when the World Series of Poker will be live again. And I hope.
No, that would be good.
Yeah.
No, I hope you see me. I hope you see me on ESPN. But if you happen to be in Las Vegas, particularly you, Eyal, I know he's looking for a star person. But if you happen to be in Las Vegas and you see me on the strip. If you can, just cross to the other side of the street. That would be the safest thing to do. That would make me very, very happy.
I keep that in mind.
Yeah. Norman Chad, thank you very much, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
ביי ביי.
ביי ביי.
וואו.
וואו, זאת המילה.
נכון? הייתה שיחה מדהימה, ואני, וואלה, אני הרבה פעמים אומר את זה כשאנחנו מביאים אורחים מפורסמים, ואני כל הזמן אומר, זה יהיה הפרק הכי טוב שלנו, זה יהיה הפרק שהכי הזינו לו, אף אחד לא יוכל לנצח את נורמן.
זה בליגה אחרת.
כן, אף אחד לא יוכל לנצח אותו.
צריך תחרות מחדש, סקרים בפייסבוק.
זה לא יהיה פייר כלפי גבי ליפשיץ, שכאילו...
בטוח שגם גבי, אין לו בעיה להפסיד לנורמן צ'אד בהדזאפ על מי מפורסם ומגניב יותר. סבבה, אז שוב נודה, אור המדהים שאירח אותנו פה באולפנים שלו, פודקאסטים בגובה, ותודה לראנר, הספונסרים שלנו שאפשרו גם את הפרק הזה. תודה פלק.
תודה לכם, חלום ילדות.
כן, הייתם צריכים להיות בקבוצת וואטסאפ שלנו, כשפלק גילה שאנחנו מקליטים את הפרק, כי איכשהו יצא שלא עדכנו אותו, הוא פתאום כזה, מה, נורמן צ'אד מגיע? כאילו, באיזה יום?
רגע, מתי ואיפה?
שולם בצ'יפ.
בדיוק. הוא היה בא לפה אם היה צריך, ברגל אם היה צריך, איתו מגיע לפה.
בטח.
אלקנה, תודה. תודה גם שחלקת איתי את השיחה הזו, וגם שסיפקת לו הרבה חומר בידורי.
כן, סיפקתי. סליחה. כן.
תראה, הוא מתבלבל גם בעברית.
בדיוק, אפילו בעברית הוא לא מצליח.
אני שלשוקט, אני באוויר עכשיו.
בדיוק, היה תענוג, אז אנחנו נאחל לכולם רק בריאות ותרוצו טוב, גם בשולחנות, ובעיקר בחיים, ובעיקר אם אתם פוגשים את נורמן פאקינג צ'אד.
כן, אני לא חושב שאפשר, מפה אפשר רק לרדת. אז אל תשכחו, אס בגובה זה פודקאסט, לא יד לשלם איתה.
יאללה ביי.
יאללה ביי.
ביי ביי.
אס בגובה, לא יד לשלם איתה, זה פודקאסט.